Welcome to Over Coffee. I'm your host, LaRayia, a business owner, artist, and Atlanta transplant, but a true New Yorker at heart. When I'm not running my shop or working on my latest art piece, I'm brewing the perfect cup of coffee or talking to people who inspire me.
How do you show up on the hard days?
I'm a soldier.
Is there a moment that you had a miracle happen in your life? Like, is there a story? Is there anything that happened where you're like, that miracle was for me, that was mine? That was something supernatural that I can't explain.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. The supernatural has, as I said, since I was 5 years old, has always showed up. I mean, there's too many to even name. You know, there's times where, you know, I was standing next to people who had been shot, you know, or I've had accidents that the average person just wouldn't survive from, you know, certain car accidents. I've had accidents, you know, in the oceans at sea that the average person wouldn't survive from. I've been in places where, you know, things have gone down and people, you know, there was an incident that happened in Canada many years ago where, I don't know, it was about 200 people fighting at the same time, literally, and people being thrown off of second floor balconies and, you know, guns being put at people's temples. And I mean, just stuff like that, where I was able to get out unharmed and unscathed. And, you know, I mean, so many, I believe, you know, my angels that are around me, you know, keep me well protected, and I give thanks. So yeah, there's just so many things. And then there's those other things where, you know, I remember when I did a movie called Stomp the Yard. There, you know, the executive that was at Sony Screen Gems at the time was absolutely hell-bent on not having me in that movie. And I was doing another movie at the time where I grew out a big, thick mustache. Like, I grew out my own mustache. And, you know, I had an afro, and it was a period piece. And an incredible film called Blood Done Sign My Name. And then Stomp the Yard was coming after that, maybe about a month after that. And the executive just said, no. But when you think about Stomp the Yard, I mean, such a profound and deep film, and the work that we did in that film, and the dancing and the stepping that went on. Can you imagine anybody else in there? So I say I give thanks to the Most High, because everybody said no about me being in that film, because, you know, they thought, well, he's too old for this. And I remember going in after, no. And I shaved after I finished the other film. And they said, well, where is he? And they had walked past me. And they said, well, we're leaving. We've been here for 15 minutes. And I thought, are they waiting for me? And I walked inside. I said, are you guys waiting for me? And they looked at me and said, hire him. You know, it's like they didn't know it was me because I had shaved. And that shows you how uncreative those people, you know, are, who are in charge sometimes, or how they can't see beyond their desk. And so by the grace of God, I did that film, and it's legendary now. So, I mean, little things like that, or times where I had auditioned for Save the Last Dance, and the director, the producer wanted me in the film, and the person, again, at the film studio at Paramount said, no. And the directors and the producers, they were just like, this is the guy, trust me. And they knew, you know, me as a dancer and a choreographer, and they said, but can he act? And for all intents and purposes, no one knew me as an actor. They didn't know anything about me. That same week, or within those 2 weeks, while I was in LA, I auditioned, happenstance, I auditioned for Soul Food, the TV series. And they passed on me and Saved the Last Dance. But that same week I booked Soul Food, right? Those are miracles.
Absolutely.
A guy from New York, no acting training,
Mm-hmm.
ends up on a major Showtime television series. How does that happen? Well, somebody's protecting me, somebody's watching over me, and somebody knows more than I do to put me in a position of something that's going to speak for me for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that we're talking about that you can't see. That's that faith activated again, right? And so, I mean, there's just so many times in my life where I think and I just smile and I'm like, yeah, you know,
Yeah, that's.
somebody's watching over me.
Oh, of course. You can feel it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that energy is obvious,
Yeah.
at least for people who feel
Yeah.
that energy is obvious. And I feel like what's inspiring, because we know it's hard for us to be seen and viewed in those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to keep going, even with the rejections, like you just told me 3 stories with hard no's,
Mm-hmm.
like, and you're smiling about it. Like,
Major hard nose, right? Like major, like absolutely not. We don't want him. This is who we want. And I was like, okay.
so
And
how,
I
how
just-
do you do that? Like, where, because that's a superpower.
Yeah.
How do you allow it to roll off and not live in you?
Because when you know, there's a difference between believing and knowing.
Mm.
I know. And so those times where I know, I just leave it there. Like I
That's a
literally
surrender.
leave
You know,
it
the
there.
thing that you said that's hard, that's
Yeah.
a surrender.
Yeah. Like it doesn't matter if you don't want me. If the Most High says that's for him, is for me. And I don't worry about stuff like that. But it's very interesting because in all honesty, we have to be on guard. And what I mean by that is we can't lose that aspect of the knowing. And we do sometimes. And there was a period of time for quite a few years that I forgot those lessons.
Mm.
And I think now in my life, they're being retaught to me just in different ways, right? Because if you ask me questions about my childhood, I would tell you about my energy. I would tell you about spirit. I would talk to you about God. I would tell you what I was going to do. And then I do it. And then I'd be like, I told you, right? It's like all of that. And then somehow we get caught up in having conversations with people and then we surround ourselves by people who don't believe that way.
Yeah.
And because you have empathy for them, you know, you wind up kind of grounding yourself where they are and don't fly as high as you possibly could, right?
Mm.
And those are those lessons that go, remember who you are. It's okay that you meet those people, but don't get stuck where they are. Just
Exactly.
keep flying, right? You have wings for a reason.
Mhm.
And what I learned is everybody has a specific space and place and a job to do here.
Mhm.
And your job is different from theirs and theirs is different from yours. Their talent is different from yours and yours from them. And when that is palpable from the spirit first,
Mhm.
you don't have to explain to anybody what you came here to do. Just do it. They will see. They will know.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Over Coffee. Follow, like, and subscribe for more episodes.